Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa on France 24. I'm Vidika Bahel and here's today's top stories. Rwandan-backed M23 rebels say they've begun pulling out from the strategic town of Uvira in eastern DRC. The local and security sources say there's still M23 police and plainclothes agents present. This as the Congolese government calls the withdrawal a diversion. 11 detained Nigerian Air Force personnel have been released in Burkina Faso, along with a formal apology from Abuja to Ouagadougou. This after the unauthorized entry into Burkinabe airspace by a Nigerian jet that triggered a diplomatic row with the Alliance of Sahel states. And Sudanese football finds an unexpected new home in Rwanda. As Sudan is still grappling with a civil war, an invite from the Rwandan Football Federation gave the country's two biggest clubs access to the 2025-26 season. Thank you for joining us. Local and security sources in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo say that Rwandan-backed M23 police and plain-clothed intelligence agents were still deployed Thursday in Uvira. However, the armed group said it had begun exiting the strategic city following pressure from the US. Tens of thousands of Congolese have fled to neighboring Burundi, with the Burundian government launching an emergency response plan to cope with the influx. Our regional correspondent has the latest.
It is mainly the western border areas that are dealing with these arrivals. The town of Rumonge is hosting at least 25,000 people, mostly women and children, exhausted and traumatized. And the numbers keep rising every day. On the ground, local authorities and the UN Refugee Agency are overwhelmed. Transit centers are full, so people sleep wherever they can, including inside the town stadium, which has just 2 toilets and 1 water tap. Some are forced to sleep out in the open, even though this is the rainy season. And food, medicines, everything is in short supply. What's important to understand is that these new arrivals come on top of more than 71,000 Congolese who had already fled to Burundi since January. Even before the summer, this was described as the country's largest influx since the early 2000s. The Burundian government has announced Wednesday an emergency response plan that would require $33 million to be implemented, and for which it has issued for international solidarity.
Also in the DRC, a growing number of women are struggling to afford the rising costs of their pregnancies after a free childbirth program was cancelled in the summer by authorities of the Rwandan-backed M23 armed group. It's left many expecting mothers terrified of giving birth in a city under rebel control.
Walking through the rubble-strewn streets of Goma, Ernestine Baleke is 6 months into her pregnancy. But what should be a happy occasion has become a source of worry for the young woman, who says she can't afford the financial cost of giving birth.
When I go into labor, I wonder where I will find the money. We don't have jobs. What's more, there is no longer any free healthcare. I don't know how I'm going to manage.
All across eastern DRC, the ongoing conflict between the Rwanda-backed M23 and the army has affected the delivery of medical supplies and caused vital infrastructure to collapse. This, coupled with widespread unemployment and a budding economic crisis, means women like Baleke are finding it increasingly difficult to afford maternal care. In 2023, the Congolese government introduced a free healthcare program for pregnant women, a life-saving initiative according to medical workers who saw attendance at maternity wards more than double, but which has since been cancelled by the M23.
It was a good project for us because it helped women give birth at the health center without difficulty. They knew that at the hospital everything would be provided for free.
With the program interrupted since June, a growing number of women in North Kivu are now opting to give birth at home, a decision driven by financial rather than medical imperatives that exposes them to preventable complications and increases the risk of maternal mortality.
Next, Burkina Faso has confirmed 11 personnel of the Nigerian Air Force have been released after being detained over a week ago when their aircraft made an emergency landing. This after the country's military junta, led by Ibrahim Traoré, met with the Nigerian delegation. according to the Nigerian Air Force. The plane was en route to Portugal when it developed a technical issue, forcing the emergency stop. Nigeria's foreign minister has formally apologised to his Burkinabe counterpart for this unauthorised entry and said both sides agreed to work towards closer bilateral ties. More with our correspondent, Sam Olakoya.
The Nigerian Air Force personnel were detained 10 days ago after their transport plane made an emergency landing in Burkina Faso. This was at a time Nigerian fighter jets were carrying out airstrikes inside Benin Republic to quell a military coup there. The reaction from the Alliance of Sahel States, a military bloc formed by the military government in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, appeared to suggest that the plane was on a hostile mission to Burkina Faso, a country that shares a border with the Republic of Benin. The emergency landing prompted the Alliance of Sahel States to place its air and anti-aircraft defenses on maximum alert and authorization to neutralize any aircraft that violates the Confederation's airspace. The Nigerian government, however, insists the military plane was on its way to Portugal for scheduled maintenance, but had to make an emergency landing in Burkina Faso, adding that the flight had no operational or combat-related assignment. The Alliance of Sahel States officially pulled out of ECOWAS early this year after falling out with the West African regional body following the military coup in the three countries. The detention of the Nigerian Air Force personnel highlights the strained relationship between the democratic governments in ECOWAS and the three military governments that pull out of the regional body.
A new report from the UN Human Rights Office Thursday found that over 1,000 civilians were killed in April when the Sudanese paramilitary rapid support forces seized the famine-stricken Zamzam displacement camp in a 3-day offensive. At least a third of those killed were summarily executed. The months prior saw the RSF block entry of food and supplies to the Zamzam camp in Sudan's western Darfur region, where nearly 500,000 people are displaced. The findings are based on interviews conducted with over 150 survivors and witnesses who fled to neighbouring Chad. Let's hear now from the UN.
Such deliberate killing of civilians or persons hors de combat may constitute the war crime of murder. There must be an impartial, thorough and effective investigation into the attack on the camp, and those responsible for serious violations of international law must be punished. These horrific patterns of violations committed with impunity are consistent with what my office has repeatedly documented, including during the RSF takeover of Al Fasher in October.
Staying in Sudan, after being forced into exile by the war, Sudanese football has found an unexpected new home in Rwanda. The country's two biggest clubs have been invited to join the Rwandan Premier League for the 2025-26 season. Rwanda, which has made sport a pillar of its diplomacy, is positioning itself as a haven for competition in Africa, much to the delight of the many Sudanese refugees living in the country. This report from our correspondent, Juliette Montier.
First training session on Kigali's pitches for Sudan's Al Hilal. It's been over 2 years since the team last played at home.
Since the war began in Sudan, the team's been forced to live in exile. Last year we were in Mauritania, we spent the whole season in a hotel. This year it's the same. We started in Tanzania and now we're in Rwanda, so it's become our daily reality.
Players were invited by the Rwandan Premier League for the current season, an initiative backed by the Rwandan Football Federation, rooted in the values of sports.
Football unites. There's a problem in Sudan that prevents the league from running normally. It's something that could happen to anyone. So we also need to show humanity. We'll do our best to make them feel at home. And of course, may the best team win.
Victory, that's what Al Hilal is after. The team wants to make the thousands of Sudanese refugees in Rwanda proud. On match night, the Pelé Stadium shakes to the rhythm of chants in Kinyarwanda and in Arabic.
We were very happy to see our team here again. Maybe most of us didn't see his team most like 2 years ago, and we came here to support him in this champions, and we are very happy to support our team again.
Yet even amid the joy of reunion, the war remains an unshakable presence.
It reminds the conflict on Sudan and what's happening on Al-Fashir. Our family is there. It is very sad for all of us.
The cheers that once echoed to the stadiums of Khartoum now resound in Kigali. Thanks to online broadcasts, those voices even reach Sudanese fans who are still at home.
And finally, the Ghanaian music genre of highlife was recently designated by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage, placing it amongst the world's protected cultural treasures. It's a major international recognition for one of West Africa's most influential musical traditions, with roots both in African rhythms and Western influences. And in the capital, Accra, the tunes continue to ring out. One highlife band, the Kwanpa Group, whose name means the right path, says the timing is symbolic. Laurent Bashika has more.
The clock hasn't even struck midnight, but inside Accra's Zen Garden Club, the atmosphere is already pumping. Patrons take to the dance floor to show off their moves, dancing and singing along to the rhythm of highlife. On stage, the musicians revel in the moment after their craft was just recognized as one of West Africa's most influential musical traditions.
UNESCO recognizing and then inscribing Ghanaian highlife music and dance as part of the intangible cultural heritage. It's great news. It's exciting. This year, we mark 100 years of Ghanaian highlife music, so it couldn't have come at a better time.
Since the 1920s, the sound of highlife has shaped the lives of multiple generations of Ghanaians. The blend of traditional African percussions and jazz borrows elements from many musical styles and has also influenced a plethora of other genres such as Afrobeats. It was hailed as a monumental expression of Ghana's musical genius by UNESCO, which inscribed it earlier this month on its intangible cultural heritage list.
It's a reflection of the way of life of we Ghanaians. It's a reflection of our cultural identity. It's a reflection of how we transmit our message in terms of sadness, in terms of happiness, in terms of peace, in terms of luxury, through music and dance.
Key to its success, the century-old tradition has kept reinventing itself over the years and still appeals to younger generations.
For me as a Ghanaian, it tells our story. It touches on every aspect of our society. When you are down, when you are happy, when you need inspiration, highlife music is there.
A living heritage that's now been immortalized as an integral part of West Africa's cultural legacy.
That's all we have time for today on Eye on Africa. Thank you for staying with us on France 24. Don't go away though, there's more world news coming up in just a few minutes.